Right. So anyways, the inspiration for some of these paintings, Leonardo da Vinci this year was forefront. And this famous painting he did, a young lady with an ermine. And I think I've reversed it here. I wanted to do a mirror image of his. And then I got my own models and I updated it. So I didn't want to really stick with the old, clothing. So the girls were wearing whatever they would wear. Sometimes I've got them to wear some things. But this is how I got my ideas started. I was, like I said, I've embraced the digital age. I was doing some fussy cutting, and then you get your pictures and you figure out how it's going to go, and you fussy cut. And old Lauren here, I wanted to have her with a bobcat. So, she didn't actually hold a bobcat, but I asked her to have her hand so it looked like she was going to be scratching its head. She did a great job. She's from California. But
cool.
Pretty much all the models I have are all my friends. If you're a friend of mine, there's a chance I'm going to paint you. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to give you an idea of how I work out ideas, and then if you want to go to the main wall here, and this is what I've been working on this year. I call it the Whisperer series. And it's just been a lot of fun to make. It really has been. A couple of them are still under construction on sign, the two in the end here. And it's one just led to two, and two led to four, and I thought, wow, I got four. That's a package, but then it went to 6, and then it went to 8, and I think I might have to cut it at 8. I made one canvas. It was a weird size. I don't know, 28 1/4 by 21 inches, and it was the leftover scraps, and I did the painting. And so then I had to make all the paintings the same size. All these canvases are this obscure size that you'll never be able to buy a frame for, so I'll be framing them all.
It's crazy how, like I was saying, you can take the image that we were just looking at and quite literally to a T map it.
My buddy Brad comes in, he says, your wife always wears the toughest clothing for you to wear, whether it's a pleated floral thing or a tartan, and he's right. So anyways, she wore this knitted sweater, and I've been just having a heck of a fun time painting it.
When you're going, because you have to start, like you said, you have to get the sweater done before you can do the hair.
Yeah.
And then continue with your
paint
layers.
right over it.
Yeah. How long of a process is it to get to that point where how long did it take to get to that initial layer before the hair came up top? How many layers is there?
It's kind of, I drew it, and then I did a wash on it that roughed it in, and then I painted it pretty tight, and then I tightened it up again. And when I go into it one more time, it'll be going in between all these little creases and starting to work in the fluffy wool bits that come. Yeah, I can get carried away. I really can.
I love it though, right? And you capture it so
she's a hoot.
You capture it so beautifully too. Like when you see it on the camera and you get a real close up, the detail never fails. It only gets better as you get closer to it. And that's where it's like, how do you manage to capture that essence so beautifully? That just it blows my mind that you can.
Well, I practice a lot.
Right.
Now this painting here is, this is a model I had probably 10 years ago. She's moved to Scotland now. This is Danny Carnell, and Daniel is just I don't know, the most photogenic person I've ever worked with. Just so beautiful. And I painted her a number of times. I need another photo shoot. I might have to fly her in from Scotland.
Just to do another photo shoot?
Yeah, she's so great. I just love her so much. But this photo shoot was taken down at Kickaninny Park. Okay. And I had my mother's wedding dress, and I found it in a box in her basement. And I asked if I could borrow it, and she grudgingly gave it to me, and it was kind of yellowed. It was a 1955 Hudson Bay. It was in the box. $37 for the dress. And that was a lot of money back then. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I went to get it cleaned at the dry cleaners because it needed to be cleaned up for the shoot. That was $100, and she said, I gave you a deal. But she talked about how great the cotton was back then and how it stands up when the new cotton doesn't, it falls apart. And so that old dress is just really strong still. It's in good shape. So, and of course, it fit Danny. I was just pleased as can be. And I had to go buy a bouquet of flowers, and it's another $40.
It'd be an honor to have you do a portrait of somebody just because of their skill sets, right? Like if you're like, hey, I want to do a photo shoot, they're like, I'm down.
Yeah. Hardly anybody's doing, portrait work anymore. It's all done on camera and whatnot. So it's very few. And I mean, it's not cheap to get me to sit behind a brush for 6 months, and there's that too. But I do have a patron that's been keeping me alive for the last few years. I've been painting his 2 daughters. And one's 17, one's 21. Gorgeous girls, and they dressed to the tens. I couldn't believe, they said I'm doing some pastoral paintings of them, sort of like this one, but more high realist. I mean, my client loves the realism. For that one is total realism. And
that's so cool.
You're painting the shadow underneath a grain of sand in the beach.
Yeah.
And then it's okay. This one here, this is one of my loosest paintings ever, and I got to say, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm still exploring. This entire backdrop is done in an expressionist style, and it's a far cry from realism. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to keep the focus on the model and then break up the realism as it goes around. So even on the foreground, if you look down in here, I mean, that's just it's a bunch of chatter. It's suggested grass, but I'm not painting grass for say so much down there as I would in other paintings, where every little blade of grass is going to be pushed in. And so I'm kind of loosening up, and this painting here was quite a joy to make.
My favorite thing is the layers. Like there's so many different visual layers that it's just it's astounding.
I think for the people that are painters, is one thing that I always have an eye for is quality of line, and it's one of the things that I like to work with. Like if you really zoom in on this feather here, you'll see that I painted yellow and I painted white into it, but you'll see there's like a little halo around it, and it's subtle, but if you come across the room, it's going to help pop that feather off that dress.
Yes.
And it creates that illusion that I'm seeking. And I do it with all the paintings. It's subtle. If you really zoom in on it, you'll see that I've created a halo around the models, except for this one. I wanted that one dark.
Yeah, just because it makes it, her clothing makes it pop, as where the backgrounds definitely help emphasize.
She's got such a serious look.
Yeah, it's just such a rock. For me, it looks like a Wicked album cover. Even the way, the things you don't think about. I'm like, oh, the veins are popping out of her hand. Like the little details that like most people would overlook, or not really make a focal point of, which is just.
Yeah, when you're painting something like that, you just gotta focus on this. But today is hand painting day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're creating your palette for that job, and that's your focus. You don't care about anything else.
That's what I was going to ask about with the sweater. When you're going from the layers and you're having to do like the sweater itself to the hair and then back, is it hard to match those colors, or use?
Well, you remember how you mix that color up, and I can always go to it.
Okay.
I can always find the color.
That's awesome. So this is the one I was talking about earlier. That just blows my mind. I can't even get it in frame.
You got to be back here to get it. Maybe, I don't know.
Just the
that's my daughter Colette Coco, and like her daddy and mommy, she joined the ranks of artists, and she's
a painter as well?
She's a painter, drawer as well, and more of a conceptual artist than her old man. But she's totally professional. Now this piece here is Artemis, and when I was at the Louvre in Paris, there's this great big sculpture, a Greek sculpture of Artemis, and she's got this pose, and she's hanging onto a stag, and she's also reaching for her arrows. And so I recreated the pose. I bought the dress. My daughter dressed up in it, got the lighting where I wanted it, and got the tension, and I had to get the prop, and then the prop was silver. The artist had a silver bow, so I needed some silver paint. 20% off. $50. But I wanted a silver bow.
Yeah.
Now could I have mixed up a blue and a gray and made it a silverish kind of thing, I could have. But
you wanted it.
I wanted it. And so this piece here, I wanted that tension between, the cats and her. Something's going down, but nobody really sees what's going on. And the funnest part about this painting for me is the Boreas, the cloud that's painted behind her. If you zoom in on your camera and move around,
you can see so much.
There's a lot going on in there, and it's all chaos, and it's not chaos in the good way. And then the violence that the Greeks were portraying, I mean, it's very real. A lot of fun. And these are images of old statues or cemetery boxes that the Romans would have, and they'd have carvings in it. And I was borrowing from the classics to create this thing. I was having fun with this one because it's a magical thing. It doesn't have to be real. I want her glowing. I want her having an aura that stands out like a god would.
Like the detail on the dress. All the little wrinkles and folds, and even the fact that, like, when you look at it, like, you can visually see that would be.
Yellow's a tough color.
Pops out.
Yellow, it's because it's really non-forgiving. If it's sitting on top of something that's not the right color, it's going to come through. So you got to be pretty sure-footed when you're running your yellows, and you got to keep your brush clean, because anything that's dragging from a dark back into a light is going to just, you have to be rubbing it out. And it's
especially with oil too, right?
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing that I've after is, I love the fact that there's the bird there.
Well, I created the stage. I mean, the idea of the painting with the cheetahs. I mean, artists always hunted with hounds. But I wanted to make cheetahs.
Why not?
Well, I'm an artist. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like Bob said, I'm God, right? So cheetahs it is. But it's for this one here wasn't really any doctoring around. I wasn't Dr. Clark for this one. I did some portraits over was Dr. Clark. You get the client, they demand that they want to be 25 pounds thinner, and the wrinkles come out. I call it idealistic realism. It's kind of fun, and everybody's happy. And my friends come over and they call me Dr. Clark, and I think it's just funny.
There's more over here too. These ones are incredible. I was trying to see this one while we were doing the interview.
No,
I didn't see it last time I was here.
That's Halen again, and that's my 16-year-old great niece. And she does not have blue eyes, but I painted her as Athena Pallas, the great Greek god. And of course, she was always known for her pale eyes, pale-eyed Athena, as you would call her in the Greek Odyssey.
Love it.
So beautiful. 16. I didn't have to do very much touching up with her. And for this one here, she's looking down. I took the shot looking up at her at a bit of an angle, and it throws you off a little bit, and makes her almost look like she's not snooty, but she's looking down at you, right? and I did this painting because I was doing another one of her, and I will be looking up her in this other painting as well. We'll get around to it. And so I just wanted to figure out a few things, so I did this portrait. I'll probably just end up giving it to her.
It's the way you captured the blue eyes, though, is quite incredible. Eyes are always something that I've struggled with when drawing and stuff, because of all the detail that's inside. The galaxies that I like to call them that are inside of each eyeball is so unique.
Yeah.
And capturing that itself is that's where the soul is, right? So it's how do you replicate that? It's so harsh.
Okay, well, Leonardo's back.
I love that.
This is my version of the Mona Lisa. I sort of started one, I don't know, 6 years ago with Danny, and I had a picture, but it wasn't the right shot, and I gave up on the painting. I was bored, and I had some time, and it was, and the scale wasn't right. I made this exact same size as the Mona Lisa. I think it's 30 by 21 or something like that, whatever it is.
I always thought it was bigger.
No, it's not very big at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I asked my buddy Petra if she would pose for it. And I've known Petra for a number of years, and she's got this classical beauty that is perfect for it. And that's when I get nervous, when I have to ask somebody like that. It's like,
can I take a picture of you?
And then she says, yeah, you know what? Somebody else already painted me from another Leonardo painting when she was in art school. So it's not the first time
cool.
she's posed for a Leonardo painting.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one I was talking about earlier before we dive into the color theories. But
You might want to go to the other side of the table to shoot that. I don't know.
Yeah, I love this one.
This is Chase, BC, and that's the Shuswap Lake, and that's Little Shuswap Lake, I should say. And that's the Shuswap behind there, and there's the Thompson River coming through, and it's such a gorgeous site. It's like the most perfect painter's site ever. It was visited by the late great E.J. Hughes, I think in 1958, and I went on a trip. I followed his footsteps, and I was painting where he painted, and his drawings were so precise that if you moved this far back, the mountains would change. You could go back, and everything would fall right in place with what he was doing, and that's where I sat up, and I recreated his paintings. And this particular site, I couldn't quite get there because it was growing in where he was. So I'm a little bit to the right of where he was.
Oh, okay.
But the valley is pretty much essentially the same. And I actually did another painting, a little bit bigger than this, from around the corner. It had the road in the corner. But this one here, the road was in front of me, and I was on the other side of the bush, in the bush, taking the photos of the painting I was going to do. So I started the painting, and then it hit the wall of shame. It's when I can't finish this. What am I doing? And then you put it against the wall, and then you revisit it, and then it sits for another couple years, and you revisit it. And these three paintings are all in that same boat. These were paintings that I started, gave up on, and this year I pulled them out. And this one I finished, and I added the horses of the apocalypse in there. And of course, we all know about all the fires that went through Chase the last couple of years. So I got my fire horse coming through, so I darkened the painting a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And this painting here, people love this painting. They come in, I like this one, and this is the one that I'm struggling the most with. And I did a little bit of work on it this year. I changed a lot of things, added this and this, that, changed it, but I'm still looking at it, and I don't know if I'm going to finish this painting. I think I started it when the Russians invaded Ukraine, and I decided I needed to make another war horse painting. And then it's like, they're hard paintings to make because they're kind of dark. It's a lot easier to paint beautiful girls in a pastoral setting. Now here's another piece that's unfinished. You might have heard of the Rush Brothers Restoration. They have a little TV show on Netflix or something.
Yep.
And it's in Tappan, BC. It's a shoe shop. So I went and visited them with my old car one day, and they were really great. And they invited me into their area, and I was taking pictures of their old cars. And their shop's right around the corner. That's the end of the shop. And I did the underbody for this painting, this is all the underbody. This is like the first coat. The lines have been set, and then the oil paints will go on this. This is actually acrylic paint.
Okay.
And that's okay. I mean, that rooftop might be the only thing that's finished on that. And I thought, oh man, do I want to have another car painting? Because I got a basement full of them. I'm not painting old cars. So I put it away, but I thought, well, maybe I have some horses. So I put the first one in. I thought, well, that works. I'm thinking maybe a row of horses coming down the background, and maybe I'll finish that painting.
So funny.
We'll see.
That'd be a really cool theme. It's just like a different series.
Well,
apart from the rest of it, you've got like the war horses constantly moving through different time periods.
Well, I'm painting the times, right? And there's two ways to tackle it. Love and peace is always the way, but the reality is it's war and chaos that's really kind of the forefront right now. So it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm bipolar and it brings out the best of both me. I don't know.
I think as an artist, you see the duality and you find beauty in both.
Yeah.
The dark and the light. And I think that's what really makes your artwork stand out compared to a lot of other stuff that I've seen.
No, this painting is unfinished. And if I had a gun to my head, I could probably finish it in a couple of weeks or something. But I mean, the rough idea of the horses and Halen coming through the sky is Athena. And I'm kind of blending religions because I got the old Greek pagan religion, and I got the horsemen coming down, which is all Christian based.
Yeah.
And she's having nothing to do with it. She's just coming down.
Stop what you're doing.
I want you to pose like this, Halen, like you're just going to crush these guys. And old Halen. It's a fun painting. It's just, I wanted to have her zapping these things, and this green.
I love that.
The edges.
Yeah.
I got this tube of paint. It's a green light. what's permanent green light, and the green is so green that it's like neon, and you won't see that green in nature. That's how green it is. And I've never been able to find a spot that to use it pure out of the tube. Not that I usually do that, but for this painting, that green was perfect because the neon, it looks like it's glowing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I finally found to use my permanent green light.
I love the color.
In the pure form.
Right? I love the color palette of that one. The teal blues and the blacks in the background. The Northern Lights too is just, I love it. It's so cool.
Thanks.
So when you're diving into the paint, like actual colors,
Yeah.
and you're creating specific colors, do you have to memorize the
palette?
not necessarily the palette, but the portions that you're putting in for creating the colors? Like, do you have specific blend?
Yeah, we're going to get into that right away here.
Yeah.
For me, the palette is that's the backbone for the painting. Is you're working from your brushes, your tools, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like I say, you get the Bob Ross palette, and you got $100 worth of paint there. And if you paint like me, you're going to go through 3 of it, and you're going to throw $97 worth of paint away at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's like paint only sits on the palette for so long. So when you tackle a job, it's like, okay, what am I painting today is the question. Okay, how much paint am I going to take? And you give yourself a little bit extra, because you don't want to be going into your tubes all the time to remix a specific color. That's a drag. Once I did a background blue sky blend. It was 8.5 feet by 6.5 feet. I don't know, it was a big canvas. And I had one day to do this blend, right? And oil paint's great. Acrylics, I couldn't have done it because it dries so fast. But the oil paint, I could get it on wet and then do all my blending. And for that one, you need to mix all your paint first because so much of this and so much of that. And if I'm going to go back in there and try and match that again, I wouldn't be able to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I wasted a little bit of paint that day to get that job done.
Thing, like, you have to think about how much you're going to use too, and that's just experience of how many times you've painted, right?
I paint that. I remember that too. I was in the that studio I was sharing with Ben in the Down Under, above the Down Under, and I went out to use the bathroom. And I came back into the room, and it almost knocked me over. The amount of fluids I had put on that canvas, and all the terps and whatnot. It was like.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah. So I emptied my box for everybody. You can see what I got, and I want to talk about color with you guys. I mean, we got the earth tones. We'll start with them. We got yellow ochre, which goes into a raw sienna. And then this one here, this tube of paint is probably older than me. I have no idea where it came from. And it's called light red, but it's a earth tone red. It's quite lovely. And let's squirt a little bit of that out there.
Oh yeah, that is really nice.
Now the thing about earth tone colors, they're not sexy like the cadmiums, right?
Yeah.
And everybody wants to go right to the yellows and blues and greens and bright colors where all the money is. But I'm telling you, all the durability is in the earth tones. Like that mural I did of the Penticton bees. Ordinarily when I paint faces, I'm going to a cad red and a cad yellow, mixing it down with white and a little bit of blue, get the skin tone. But if I would have painted that skin tone, the painting would be gone in 2 years. The light that's on there, it's in full light. As soon as that sun comes up the hill, it's on that wall, right?
Yeah, I never thought about that.
So I used a red oxide and a yellow ochre earth tones.
Okay.
And I didn't get the color just exactly how I wanted, but pretty close and close enough.
But it's lasted.
It's not. It's 25 years later, those faces still look like the guys, right? So if you want durability and you don't want to spend huge amounts of money, get used to putting your earth tones into your paint. And you can go a long ways with these earth tones. You can do a lot of stuff with them that you just don't need to be pushing all these expensive paints out.
Yeah.
So the earth tones, you got the umbers, there's the raw, and there's the burnt umber. And the raw umber has got a little bit more blue in it. You can get a burnt umber and add blue to it and get there. It's not a big deal. But if you're a young artist, don't be shy of the earth tones. Those are going to be your best friends. It's going to help your painting, and they dry fast. So you can put a
They all dry different speeds.
Yeah, all
depending
different
on
speeds.
Colors. Is that based on pigment and what puts put in it?
It must be, because whatever the binder is going to be the same. But you know, like these reds here will take, you know, a week to dry on that canvas.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and these will be dried the next morning. This one here is a solvent-free fluid. It's a Gamblin product, and it's for painting, and it's going to add a little bit of gloss to your paint. Okay. So it's going to help even out the surface at the end with that gloss. But it's a quick dryer. So you know, a painting that would take a week to dry with this might only take a few days with this, right? It's going to speed up the process, but not so fast that you lose control of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So going down the lines of the yellows into the reds, these cadmium oranges here, I don't use the orange very much because you can mix the orange so fast with the red and the yellow, and it's going to be spot on. But nonetheless, that cad orange, it's not going to be quite that orange. So if you ever need a super orange, you know, so I got these colors and I hardly ever use them out, bring them out. Some of these paints have been with me for my entire painting career. Like this paint here was gifted to me from an estate of an artist friend of mine, Judy Foster, who passed on, and she had a bunch of paints, and like this one here, it's probably from the 70s.
Oh wow.
Ultra, I don't even know if the brand's still around, but the pigment, yeah. Good stuff.
Love it.
I love the good stuff. So with reds, you got the cad red light, and it's a beautiful red. It's just a beautiful red, but you see it starting, it's not pure red, right? But the cad red medium, this is going to be your reddest red, right there. Can you see the difference?
Oh yeah.
Two colors. And like this tube here, it'll probably last me 10 years because there's not too many red things out there that I need to blob the paint out on. You know, like that red is going to spread a long ways. Yeah. It's just a tiny little dot of red, but it is what it is. And the alizarin crimson is now it's starting to move to the purple side. And if you want to make purple, and you don't have purple, you're going to want alizarin crimson. And it can make the perfect purple. And I'll show you, because this is purple. And this is another tube that I had from my days in college. So it's another 40-year-old paint tube.
It's crazy that it has a lifespan.
If you look after it,
yeah,
it'll hold on. So now this is the blue pile. And blue is maybe the hardest color. And I'll tell you why, because there's no such thing as pure blue.
There's not.
Here it is. When there was talk to me from Jim Tanner, when I started college, I had a really good technical painter that did this with me, what I'm doing with you right now. And the blue is just, the ultramarine is on the blue side, because on the color wheel it's going to go to purple and it's going to go to green, right? Yeah. So that's going to be on the purple side, and the phthalo blue is the one that's going to go on the green side. And so you got these two blues, and they look pretty much the same at this point. But if you add white to them, you'll see where they're going to start falling apart and changing. I'll put a little bit of white now. I just use a good titanium white. Again, a very slow dryer. It'll take a week to dry without any. And another thing I use these tubes for, this one here, is the Radiant Turquoise. That's the tube of paint I've been using to knock down my skin tones.
Really?
And for years I was using different blues. I was using my favorite cerulean blue. Okay. It's like a sky blue. But this one here, man, it does a nice job on. And when I'm doing skin tones for the day, that's about the size of a blob I'm going to put down. Okay. Right? Here's another little trick too. When you're a painter, you want to look after your ends. But if you got no paint that's sticking up like that, and you can squeeze the other side and it goes back down. And that way you're not going to make a mess of your lid when you're putting it on.
That's genius.
Yeah, and because it is. Well, you get that paint. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, they're always in a rush, and they don't even get the tube on. There's paint everywhere, and like I have an artist friend, and to him, the experience is all about paint on him, and it's a nightmare.
The messier,
right?
the better.
And it's like, no, I get paint on me. I'm cleaning up. It's really not good for you. It gets into your skin, and these things here. If it sounds like it's buzzing, like radioactive buzzing. It is. You look at these names on these things, it's the cadmiums and titaniums and the cobalts, and this one is a Indianazone. I don't know what that is. It's not great to get on your skin.
No.
Some artists are really sensitive and they'll wear gloves and stuff, but I just suck it up and just keep on going.
Right.
I don't like to get too much paint on me. And now this is the tube of permanent green light that I was telling you about. Now this tube of paint, again, it's probably one of those $70 tubes, and I don't really need it in my paint kit, but I got it. And that purity of green, you won't find that in nature. And you can knock that down with a little bit of brown or red, and all of a sudden it turns into something that you might recognize on a bush, right? Quite nice. But otherwise, unless you're painting a neon sign for A&W or whatever, there's no place in nature for that green. But it's a great green to have. And when I'm out doing landscape work or painting nature, I mix all my own greens pretty much. It's blue and yellow.
And just adding it in there.
Yeah, but there's so many different colors of blue.
Yeah.
And it's going to make different greens. But think about it, you go out to the field and you're looking, it's wonderful, it's springtime, and you're excited and you want to paint it, and then you realize it's a green grass in front of a green bush, in front of a green tree, on a green field with mountains in the background that were green that are starting to turn blue, and it's just all green, and it's hard to get that separation and make it exciting. So you got to be Johnny on the spot with your greens. So green's one of those funny colors that you really got to put a lot of time and interest into, and and mixing it here before you go onto your canvas, it's going to help you a lot, because you get all the problem solving here. It's like when you're color matching, you can work on the white. I got these disposable palettes. They're like $8 or $9 or something. I recommend it.
Yeah.
End of the day, when you're done, in the garbage it goes, no cleanup. But you can see the color. Whereas you got a dark brown thing that you've been wiping paint off all the time, and all this. Color looks different when it's beside other colors. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to do a match. If I'm doing a photographic piece and I need to match a perfect color, I'm mixing it here, I'm on the image and I'm trying to find it. But if this was brown, I'd be having way harder time. So one of those tools, it's another expense, right? But much necessary.
Is there a difference between when you're using acrylic versus oil and the way you should layer?
Yeah, you can never oil on top, put acrylic on top of oils, but you can put oils on top of acrylic.
Okay.
So sometimes I have a large painting and there's a giant section that needs to be undercolored. I'll use the acrylics because I'll just keep the odor down, right? There's no odor with it. But if I have a large space that I have to put the terps onto it, the room gets really rowdy quick.
Yeah.
So I got a pile of acrylic underneath the table, right underneath where we're talking, and it comes out, and I do my murals. All the exterior stuff I do is all acrylic paint.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do a realist painting on acrylics.
But when you're painting with oil versus acrylics, with shades or tones, is there a difference between which should go first? Dark, I know for darks are easier to put onto lights, but it's harder to put light onto a dark color.
I always.
Is it the same way with oil?
You want to work from the darks up.
Yeah, so it's the same way with oil.
Throw your darks down first.
Okay.
And build up to the light. Acrylic is a son of a gun because it changes color when it dries. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And it blends super easy, and then you're like, oh, I didn't want that.
Well, you do a nice section, and then all of a sudden it dries, and the color's off. It's like, Oils don't, so you're not fighting that problem. So if I want to do an acrylic piece, I'm always adding a little bit of white to it and lightening it knowing that it's going to darken up as it dries.
Oh, okay.
And it's not for the meek, that's a hard thing to do, because you still don't really know what the true color is going to be unless you're doing little experiments on the corner, and until you finally get your. And the time you do all that, I've mixed up the oils, done the job. It's perfect. I'm moving on, right?
Yeah.
So oil paints are the answer for me, and good oil paints. It's you can't be working with lousy tools. It just kills me, that the idea that student paint and cheap brushes for people learning how to paint. It's like, why would you handicap somebody trying to learn? Give them the good stuff.
Yeah, totally, right?
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure to sit and talk with you and your art and learn your story and pick your brain with color theories and absolutely everything about it. Thank you so much for having me. It's been absolutely incredible. Your story, your artwork, like I said, is mind-blowing. Your mind is creative as all could be. And I want to thank you for your story, your time, and having me here.
It's just been a privilege.
It's been awesome.
Thank you so much.
If you guys would like to be a guest on the show, there will be a QR code at the bottom of the screen. You can scan and we'll get in touch with you. From all of us at StoryHive On Location, I'm Rob O'Day, and this has been StoryHive On Location Kelowna. We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace and love.